All right, get ready to dive into Hamlet.
Oh yeah, one of Shakespeare's most famous tragedies.
Exactly. We're talking revenge, intrigue.
And some serious psychological
But
drama.
let's be honest, has kept people hooked for centuries.
For sure, for sure.
What I find so fascinating about Hamlet is that it's not just about, like, getting even.
There's so much deeper than that.
It really grapples with these huge questions like life and death.
Sanity and madness, even.
Yeah, and the very nature of reality itself.
These are the kinds of questions we're still wrestling with today.
Exactly, which is why it's still so relevant, right?
Absolutely.
Okay, so first.
Let's set the scene.
Perfect. We're in Denmark.
A kingdom that's kind of on edge.
Oh, totally on edge.
Because of this conflict brewing with Norway.
Adding to all that tension.
And everything goes down at Elsinore.
The royal castle.
Yep. Talk about a setting that just oozes atmosphere.
Seriously. The setting is so important in Hamlet.
This looming castle, right?
With all its secrets.
Political tensions.
You can just feel it.
It becomes a character in itself.
Totally. And it reflects that uncertainty and sense of impending doom.
Which kind of hangs over the whole play.
Okay, and then you've got these incredible characters, too.
Like starting with Hamlet.
Of course. The prince grappling with grief and anger after his dad dies.
Consumed by this thirst for revenge.
Oh, yeah, he wants revenge.
But he's also, incredibly thoughtful.
And introspective.
Hamlet's honestly one of the most complex characters in literature ever.
His to be or not to be soliloquy.
Everyone knows it, right?
But it's not just about suicide, is it?
No, it's about so much more.
It's about the human condition itself.
We're about struggling to find meaning in a world that can feel so arbitrary.
And so cruel.
Exactly.
And then there's Claudius.
Hamlet's uncle.
This guy is just. He seizes the throne.
After murdering the king.
Who also happens to be Hamlet's father.
And then, get this, he marries Hamlet's mother.
Gertrude.
Talk about adding insult to injury.
Oh, absolutely.
Claudius is like this master manipulator.
Totally. Driven by ambition and just this lust for power.
He embodies that corrupting force of unchecked desire.
Which you see throughout the play.
And his actions have these ripple effects.
Oh, yeah, they impact everyone.
Especially Hamlet.
Speaking of which, let's talk about Gertrude.
Hamlet's mom, right.
Stuck in the middle of all this.
Her motivations are so fascinating.
So complex.
Is she complicit in the plot against her former husband?
Or is she, like, a victim of Claudius's manipulation?
It's a question that's debated all the time.
There's so much debate about her role.
Some see her as weak-willed.
Easily swayed by Claudius.
Others think she's more cunning.
Maybe even aware of the plot.
That ambiguity is part of what makes her such a fascinating character.
We can't forget about Polonius either, right?
The king's advisor.
Always scheming.
Always meddling.
And he just loves the sound of his own voice.
Oh yeah, he does.
Long-winded speeches.
Often missing the bigger picture.
It adds this kind of dark humor to the play.
He's a great foil to Hamlet.
You're right, because Hamlet's philosophical and introspective.
Polonius is all about appearances and courtly intrigue.
He represents those dangers of blind ambition, I think.
And the pitfalls of a life that's, lived solely for power.
Then there's Ophelia, of course.
Polonius's daughter.
She's drawn to Hamlet.
But their relationship is a tragic casualty of the power struggles.
And that whole revenge plot going on.
Ophelia is one of the most heartbreaking characters in literature.
I agree.
Caught between her love for Hamlet, the demands of her father.
And the court.
A victim of forces beyond her control.
Definitely.
A symbol of innocence destroyed in the pursuit of power.
And right from the start, Hamlet throws us into this world of uncertainty.
With the ghost?
Yeah. This ghost claims to be Hamlet's murdered father.
And he demands revenge.
But Hamlet's not so sure what to believe.
Is it really his dad or some evil spirit trying to trick him?
Exactly. It introduces one of the play's central themes.
Appearance versus reality.
Can we trust our senses?
Or are we constantly being deceived?
And Hamlet's struggling to figure out the truth about this ghost.
Which mirrors his own internal conflict.
Between reason and passion.
Yeah, right from the start.
It sets the stage for everything that follows.
It's like that uncertainty just seeps into everything else.
Oh, totally. And then there's that whole thing with Hamlet pretending to be mad.
Yeah, is he really losing it?
Or is it all an act?
Exactly. Such a good question.
It's another layer of ambiguity.
Which Shakespeare's so good at.
But that feigned madness, though.
It's actually pretty brilliant.
Lets him watch everyone, right?
Without anyone suspecting a thing.
But it also makes you think about identity,
Like, who are we really?
If we can pretend to be someone else.
For sure.
And then To test Claudius's guilt,
He stages that play within a play,
oh yeah, he basically recreates the murder, right?
trying to catch Claudius's reaction.
Like psychological warfare.
Using art as a weapon.
So intense.
Yeah.
You see Hamlet manipulating everyone.
Using their own assumptions against them.
It reminds you that the play's not just about action.
It's about ideas, too.
And the power of language.
Speaking of which, we got to talk about those soliloquies.
Oh, those incredible soliloquies.
They're like these profound meditations on life and death.
And everything in between.
Exactly.
Like the to be or not to be speech.
Everyone knows the line.
But it's so much more than just about suicide.
Right. It's about the choices we make.
The consequences.
The weight of existence.
It's heavy stuff.
It is.
And you know what's interesting?
What's that?
Hamlet doesn't actually take revenge for a while.
He delays. Yeah.
Some people say that's a sign of weakness,
Like he can't make up his mind.
but others see it as, like, intelligence.
He understands how complex the situation is.
I think it's a bit of both, honestly.
Yeah, I can see that.
He's so thoughtful.
He overthinks everything.
Gets caught in his own head.
But that also makes him relatable, don't you think?
Totally. Haven't we all felt that way?
Like stuck between what we should do
And what feels right.
all the time.
And then there's his relationship with Ophelia.
Adds another layer of tragedy for sure.
He pushes her away, right?
Is to protect her.
But also because he's just consumed by his own grief and rage.
It's heartbreaking, their relationship.
Ophelia's this innocent, caught in the middle.
Her descent into madness reflects the chaos around her.
It's a reflection of the whole play, almost.
That destruction of innocence.
Yeah, you see it in Hamlet, too, to an extent.
He starts out idealistic, but the violence,
And the betrayal.
it chips away at his faith in humanity.
And it just keeps escalating. The violence.
When Hamlet accidentally kills Polonius.
Oh, thinking it's Claudius.
That's the turning
It
point.
sets off this chain reaction.
Ophelia's death.
The final showdown.
Hamlet and Laertes.
It's a whirlwind, that final act.
a bloodbath, really.
Poison, duels, betrayal.
It's like Shakespeare saying, look, this is what happens.
When you let rage and revenge take over.
The consequences are devastating.
There's this sense of inevitability, too, you know?
Like it was always going to end this way.
Like a Greek tragedy, almost.
Fated to meet their doom.
But even though you know it's coming,
It's still shocking when it happens.
and then at the end, what's left?
A new king, but
Almost everyone's dead.
this lingering unease.
Like it could all happen again.
a cycle of violence.
Not exactly a happy ending,
Not at all.
but powerful, though, right?
It's definitely powerful.
Makes you think about justice, revenge, trauma.
It's why Hamlet is such a masterpiece.
It doesn't offer easy answers
challenges us to confront the darkness within ourselves.
and grapple with the complexities of being human. It's a play that asks more questions than it answers.
Which is probably why we're still talking about it today.
Hundreds of years later, we're still trying to figure it out.
That's part of what makes it so great.
Hamlet is a play you can revisit over and over.
And find something new every time.
It's a reflection of our own humanity.
Our struggles with good and evil, love and loss.
Reason and passion. It's pretty amazing, though, isn't it?
What's that?
That a play written over 400 years ago
Oh.
can still, like, hit us so hard today.
I know, right?
What is it about Hamlet that keeps us coming back?
I think it's a testament to Shakespeare.
Oh, totally.
That he was able to tap into something so universal.
Something so human.
Yeah, exactly.
The themes, grief, betrayal,
Grunge, the search for meaning.
they resonate just as much now.
As they did back then.
It's not just the themes, though, is it?
No, you're right.
The characters, too.
They become these, like, iconic figures.
Hamlet, struggling with everything.
Classic tragic hero.
Ophelia, innocence lost.
And then Claudius, ambition, the dark side of power.
Oh, and those lines.
The unforgettable lines.
To be or not to be.
The last, poor Yorick.
Neither a borrower nor a lender be.
So good.
They've become part of, like, our language.
Woven into our culture.
Hamlet's a play that demands your attention.
Makes you think.
Leaves you with more questions than answers.
For sure.
It's a play that literature students,
Oh, yeah.
they'll be unpacking this one for a while. Pay attention to the language.
The imagery, the symbolism
Explore all the different interpretations.
of the characters, their motivations.
There are so many layers to Hamlet.
You'll find something new every time you read it.
And don't just read it.
See it performed if you can.
Oh, yeah. Experiencing it on stage.
It brings it to life in a whole new way.
You'll see those soliloquies delivered with passion.
Just feel the tension, the confrontations.
You'll be drawn into that world of Elsinore.
In a way that reading alone can't capture.
Exactly. And don't be afraid to connect with it personally.
Oh, yeah.
Like, what speaks to you?
What questions does it raise for you?
About your own life.
About the world around you?
That's what makes studying literature so fascinating.
It's like this dialogue between the text, the reader.
And the world.
Absolutely.
So, as you dive into Hamlet,
Remember, there's no one right way to interpret it.
embrace the ambiguity, explore the complexities.
Allow yourself to be challenged.
By this timeless masterpiece,
Who knows what you might discover?
what stands out to you about Hamlet's story?
What makes it so captivating, even after all these centuries?
That's the beauty of it, right?
It's a play that just invites us to think,
To question
to grapple with those big questions.
that we've been asking forever.
Hamlet's more than just a play.
It's an invitation to a dialogue with the past
With ourselves.
and with the enduring power of art.